Okay, so here we are. We're going to go over the solution now to the password program. Um, we had a lot of it already written in the first part, and I left it for you to create this clean function that would remove non-letters from the word. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could have gone about solving this. I chose in my version to use a regular expression. So here I'll copy and see if I can copy and paste this over here. I'm using the RE module, so I'm going to have to go up here and import that. Import RE for for regular expressions, and I'm going to substitute anything that is not in the class A to Z with the empty string, and I'm going to do that for word, and I'm going to return that. And that should work. So if I run PyTest on my password program to run this test clean, it does in fact pass that. And honestly, I really have to stress, this is how I program day to day in Python. I write a function, I write a test, and I try to understand that function in isolation. And then I try to use it in a greater program. So if I go back and run this now, let's see, I actually wanted to go back to the part here where I printed the words. If we look at this part, if I look at this, I can see now that it has cleaned up all these words. There's no more punctuation attached to those words. So it does look like it's working well. I have confidence that that works. We already worked on the word length filter up here, so I know that I'm getting the right length of words. And so what I need to do now is to generate, last thing here is instead of adding the word, I need to add this word in title case. So I can add title like that. And now when I run this, it is now creating lead appear or put work. It's creating them in title case. It makes it easier for me to see the words that have been included in this. And so what I need to do is I need to generate the right number of passwords. So I could do that with a for loop. So for I in range going up to arg's number of passwords, I need to execute this that many times. As it turns out, I don't need the I don't need the number, each one of the numbers going through the range. So I can just change that to the underscore to show that I'm just using this to repeat an action to get this print statement. And I'm not doing that to, I don't actually need each number coming back from range. So if I run this now on that, it now creates 3 passwords. If I change the W to 2, it will, let's see, sorry, it's going to be the N parameter. So I changed W, that was the number of words, and we see that that changed it to just 2 words per password, and I wanted to change the number of words to 2, so now it's just generating 2 passwords. So that is a way of generating these passwords. Now, I'm going to show you, well, first off, we also need to get our leet function going. So that was the next thing I was going to show you, that instead of printing it, I'm going to make something called password is going to be equal to this, and so that is going to be our base password. And then if it's necessary to change the password to modify it for the leet function, then we're going to figure that out next. So the way I would do this is I'm going to first off define a ransom function, and for this I think I'll just go over here. The first bit is I'm going to define this ransom function. It's going to take some bit of text and it's going to return a piece of text. All this is pretty good. I'm just going to copy that so to save a little time. So there's my doc string, and what I'm going to do is let me see if I can copy both of these lines from the book. This is our entire program from the ransom. So if you'll remember, what we did there is that you could use either a map statement or a list comprehension to go through each character in text, randomly choose between a false or true value. So in this instance, 0 in a Boolean context here, because I'm using it here as the predicate for this if, 0 would be false and anything not 0 would be true. So given a random choice between these two, choose either the uppercase or lowercase version of that. And I told you that there in the unit.py is a test for that. So let's just copy this, and for the moment I'm just going to go over here and paste it right here after the function. It's the way I generally like to organize my code. And if I go back and run my PyTest on the password, let's run it with -v so I can see it's passing both the ransom and the clean. So this function works. This does what I think it should do. Now the lead function that I want to create is a little bit more than that. Let's see, let me copy this. Let's start stubbing that out. The lead function, let's see. That is going to take some bit of text, and the first thing it's going to do is call ransom on that. So it's going to randomly do upper and lower case on that. And then the next thing is that I'm going to use this dictionary translate method, like I think it's the last solution that I show in the jump to 5. But I've got this translation table that says A, for instance, is going to be changed into the @ sign, and a capital A is going to be changed to a 4, and on like that. So that's going to be the way that we transform this. And what I want to do is I'm going to translate the text according to that, and then I'm going to also put in a random choice from string punctuation, and for that I'm going to need to import the string module. Import string. And I'm going to go over here, and at this point now, now that I've defined both clean, ransom, all of these three functions, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to move these tests out of here. I'm going to use my unit, and I'm going to show you how I would do that. So I've now basically, I've just moved the tests out of the password program and I've put them into unit.py, and so I can run pytest -xv on unit.py, and that is going to, if we go look at it, the first thing it does is from the password program, which is in this directory so it can find it, import these three modules, these three functions, and then these are we're just going to call those functions. So it's calling the clean function from the password module. And what's nice about that is that it makes this program be a little shorter. Here where you see we're already topping out at 117 lines. So I don't want this program to get too long. So this is a way of keeping the tests and the code separate from each other and making it a little easier to organize. So now if I were to take this password and now I have, and the delete function now works, I could print and I need to either print the password or the delete version of the password. So I'm going to print the delete of password if args.delete, else just print the regular password. And I'm actually doing this wrong so that I can show you this is the way I first wrote this program, and it doesn't do what I thought. So let's talk about, let's use a random seed of 1, and let's use for here the Constitution, and we'll use the nouns from the Constitution. If I run this, and if I run that again, I get exactly the same output. So let me show you. Day right, choice 4th, day right, choice 4th. I'm getting the exact same output because I'm using the seed of 1. But watch what happens if I run with the --delete version. This is the day right, choice 4th, day right, choice 4th. That is the deleted version of that. But date part officer order, this is not that. This is not the delete version of day part office order. This is like member temp something numbers, something going on there. What is happening is that I'm making a selection, making a password by doing a random sample of the words. And then I'm immediately calling the leet password, and that is changing the global state of the random module because it's calling the ransom, and then it's calling the leet version that it has some other random choices that it's making, and so it's changing the state of the random module so that the next time through to select the next password, then it's not going to make the same selection as before. This is not the right way to run this program. What we need to do is first generate all of our passwords and then to modify them with the leet function if we need to do that. So we're not going to do this. This is bad. So the first thing I'd like to say is we are, one of the things that we could do here is to generate, we could do, passwords is equal to the empty list, and then we could say passwords dot or plus equal. How about plus equal that? Oh no, like that. And then I could say passwords. Let's just print passwords. Print joining those on the new line. How about that? Let's do that for a second. And if we run this like that, let's see. Oh, plus equal. Try that again. Oh, okay. Wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. Ooh. How about passwords dot append? And let me just print the passwords for a second and see what I've got. Make sure that I'm doing what I think I'm doing. Okay. So if I take those passwords, it's a list of passwords. I should be able to dot join passwords, and I should be able to get what I expect. Great. Okay, so those are the passwords I expect. And then I can choose to, if args.leet is true, then I want to set passwords equal to the result of passing those passwords through the leet function. And that could look like a list comprehension. It could be leet word for word in passwords. That could be one way to do this. Let's make sure. I misspelled that. Leet. Try that again. So that day right choice fourth, great. And let me do with -L. And leet. Again, I misspelled it. There. Try again. Great. So without the leet and with the leet. That is one way to do this. I'd like to show you a couple more ways to write this. I don't really like, I keep trying to convince you that when you start off with this empty data structure and you do a for loop to modify that data structure, it's almost always better to do that as a list comprehension. So we could write the same thing in one line of code like this. Basically, we can take that and stick it inside a list comprehension. And then we need to do that for this. For this number of passwords, make a random sample of this number, and that should work. Let me comment that out. And we can, and that's the way I show it here, is one way to do this, is to use a list comprehension to rearrange this for loop so that it generates those passwords. Another way that we could write this bit here, I would prefer, is to use a map statement equals. So I would this is I could use map into leet passwords. Let me comment this line out and make sure it still works. So that makes sense. We haven't run our test suite here, our full integration test suite. Let's see. It is unhappy about, I'm just going to look at the, let's see, it's looking, I'm looking at my make file here, and it's looking for input words.txt, ls inputs words.txt is there. Oh well, I'll just run pytest-xv on my test.py, and that should work just fine. Let's see, invalid int value. So failing a bad number, let me make sure what's going on here. So a little bit of a teaching exercise here. So it's running, oh, it's using --num, which I think is not the, maybe this needs to be --num. Maybe I have a mistake in the test suite. Let's try that again. Yes. Okay, so there was a problem with the long flag name. And then the default, let's see, it is asserting, okay, it is using the program. So I'm going to actually break the video here, and I'm going to debug a couple things, and then I'm going to pick up and we'll finish talking about this in just a moment.